Health technology innovators in Africa are raising millions of dollars in funding. What difference are their solutions making in Africa's healthcare sector? Good morning. It's another dynamic episode of Business Week. If you couldn't keep up with global headlines during the week, don't worry. We've got you covered. As always, over the next hour, I'll be reviewing all the top business and economic stories that made the headlines this past week. I'm Rolake Akinkuwe-Filani. So we'll start as usual with a look at how global energy commodities markets fared. And you can see oil prices have been shooting through the roof lately. Brent is up by 1.13% at closing the week at $86.1 per barrel. Same with the North American crude grade WTI. It's up by 1.24%, ending the week at 82.56%. Two really important developments driving this. Saudi Arabia is extending a 1 million barrel per day production cut. It took some months back. It's extending that till September. And Russia, a member of OPEC Plus, is also cutting production by an additional 300 barrels a day. So this is quite significant. And in fact, many analysts and bankers around the world, especially UBS, the investment bank, Swiss investment bank, is predicting oil prices will reach probably about $90 a barrel by the end of the year. In the US, we're also seeing some tightening around US inventories, and that is all driving oil prices through the roof. That's trickling through to natural gas, which was up by 23 basis points at the end of this week, and also RBOB gasoline as a result of the pass-through from global crude benchmarks. Let's look at what's happening elsewhere around the world with equity markets. First, take a look at Europe. European stock markets were down on Friday by 0.1 basis points. Actually, Nigerian stock markets down by 0.1 basis points, but Euro stocks, as you can see on the screen, up by 0.29 basis points, and all the European stock markets, FTSE, London, DAX, Germany, CAC, Paris, IBEX, Spain, all up. Actually, the market is looking at a slowing down in the rate of inflation. So analysts are saying that investors are looking at a kickstart in operations for many companies on the European stock markets. We'll see how that pans out over the next week. Let's shoot over to other markets around the world. Let's take a look at what is happening on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Market cap at 35.4 trillion naira. It's actually down a bit from at some point during the week. And the stock market's all-share index is also down by 0.1 basis points. We can also see here that volume of deals traded at 363.1 million naira and the value at 6.07 billion with over 6,000 deals on the Niger Stock Exchange. Let's take a look at Wall Street. Yeah, Wall Street as at Friday, similar to European markets actually. US inflation figures show a slight moderation in US inflation. The Dow Industrial Index is up. S&P was up on Friday, and of course NASDAQ with tech stocks also up by 89 basis points. Now, here are my business top picks on Business Week from the past week. What's interesting this week across the world? The first story here is the Republic of Niger. Of course, we know about the coup d'etat that took place in that ECOWAS market. Its planned $51 million bond issuance has been cancelled by the regional bank. That's the Bank for West African States. This is quite significant because Niger actually really depends a lot on external aid and financing to invest in key social sectors and in infrastructure. So not a good one for the economy. And actually, the Nigerian government was planning to issue 2 additional bonds later this month, I believe on the 7th of August and the 17th of August. And that's being impacted by the political crisis going on in that country. ECOWAS has actually suspended all commercial and financial transactions as well with the Republic of Niger, Nigeria's northern border neighbor. Nigeria's NNPC, which went commercial in July last year, says that it is planning an IPO, an initial public offering. At some point, it's going to go on an international roadshow. This came on the back of an announcement by Benga Komolafe, the chairman, the CEO of the Niger Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. As you know, NNPC has been mulling this move for a while. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually consented to these plans to take the national oil company public into the market, and of course public by listing on equity stock market. So we'll see how that pans out. We still have to see what happens with its results and its financials from 2022. Of course, we know it's been shouldering the burden of subsidy payments for many, many years. So investors may receive this move to raise money on capital markets quite positively. Apple Inc. has said that it has posted a fiscal third quarter loss. So the quarter loss, it says its earnings sales were about 81.8 billion, much better than analyst expectations. Earnings per share were up by 8%, but nevertheless, we've seen a decline in the sales of the iPhone. Lots of competition from Android models there. Having said that, Apple TV sales have actually been doing quite well, as have sales in China, which have grown actually by about 8%. So some key emerging and frontier markets around the world helping to shore up that slight dip in the Apple financial picture. And Apple is actually anticipating that we will see a further sales slowdown in the next or the current fiscal quarter when we come to the end of that time. Ethiopian air-backed carrier to start in Nigeria by October. I mean, this is long-awaited news. If you recall, Nigeria's former aviation minister had said that Ethiopian Air, this Nigeria Airlines, would start operations around 3 days before the end of the last administration. Of course, that never happened. Ethiopian Air's operated Nigeria Airlines will be owned 49% by the Ethiopian government, 5% by the Nigerian government, and the rest by institutional investors and others. If this actually pans out on the expected timing, it would be a major boon for this administration that such a monumental event is happening, and of course could potentially be transformational for Nigeria air travel. As you know, within the ECOWAS region, Askai is actually one of the main regional carriers. So we'll see how that works out. Ethiopian Air will actually be managing the operations of the new Nigeria airline. ExxonMobil, global US oil giant, is in talks with Tesla, Ford, Volkswagen, and some others to supply lithium. Lithium battery, of course, very much in demand around the world for electric vehicles. The global energy giant is looking at diversifying its product base in order to supply lithium to global markets. It's going to have to look at securing the source of supply of lithium and potentially partner with some of these car makers, Tesla, Ford. Of course, Tesla, one of the biggest producers of EVs, electric vehicles around the world. Global energy giants are really sticking and playing on that energy transition theme. So it will be interesting to see how this pans out. We hear that the factory is actually meant to be located in Arkansas in the United States. So lithium manufacturing could become a major product line by ExxonMobil in the coming months. And finally, U.S. mortgage demand from home buyers is down. Mortgage rates for 30-year mortgages in the American market are around 6.9%. They've actually been above the 6% mark for many, many months. And according to this report, applications actually fell by 3%. And compared to last year at the same time, applications are down by 26%. Of course, it's no news, really. We're seeing the Fed raising rates in successive quarters to try and curb inflation. That's having an impact on consumer demand across the board. And of course, the mortgage market has been feeling the heat quite a bit. Well, that's it on our business top picks. Now for some other top stories from around the world that made headlines. US supermarket giant Walmart has taken further control of the Indian e-commerce firm Flipkart by buying out hedge fund Tiger Global and venture capital firm Excel's remaining stakes. That's according to media reports that came out on Monday. Walmart paid $1.4 billion to buy the remaining Flipkart shares owned by Tiger Global, valuing the Indian company at about $35 billion. The Wall Street Journal did report that. It cited a letter the fund sent to investors. This is down from the near $38 billion valuation that Flipkart attained in 2021. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on Wednesday voiced more complaints about Fitch Ratings downgrades of the main U.S. credit rating, calling it, and we quote, entirely unwarranted because it ignored improvements in governance metrics during the Biden administration and the country's economic strength. Speaking at an Internal Revenue Service contractor office near Washington, Yellen said the rating agency's announcement on Tuesday failed to take into account a resilient U.S. economy with low unemployment, falling inflation, continued growth, and strong innovation. In Nigeria, according to a report of Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics titled Country Data Overview, women now own a remarkable 40% of micro, small, and medium enterprises nationwide. The NBS findings highlight the momentous impact of women-owned MSMEs on the country's economic growth and job creation. According to the report, these businesses led by visionary women entrepreneurs are emerging as pivotal drivers of Nigeria's economic resurgence, contributing significantly to the nation's development across diverse sectors. Businesses are seeing geopolitical tensions as the biggest threat to the global economy right now, according to the latest survey by Oxford Economics. The finding confirms that perceptions of economic risks have shifted significantly for businesses, and this was according to Jamie Thompson, head of macro scenarios and author of the survey. Geopolitical tensions are now the main focus of concern, both in the near term and the medium term, he noted. Around 36% of businesses polled view geopolitical tensions as the top risk currently, such as those related to issues over Taiwan, South Korea, and Russia and NATO. In contrast, a similar survey in April found that nearly half the respondents viewed either a marked tightening in credit supply or a full-blown financial crisis as the top risk in the near term. The president of the World Bank, Ajay Banga, has commended the Nigerian president, Bola Tinubu, for his early efforts in implementing essential fiscal reforms, which is important for the stability of the nation's economy. Speaking after his meeting with the president in Abuja during the week, Ajay Banga says the support that the World Bank is prepared to offer Nigeria is not limited to financial aid. The World Bank president also says Nigeria's decision to end the controversial fuel subsidy regime was a challenging one, but that crucial for the country to address its fiscal deficit, the government had to stay the course. In the same breath, Nigeria's credit outlook was upgraded to stable from negative just yesterday by S&P Global Ratings on President Bola Tinubu's planned reforms. So good news out there for Nigeria. GlaxoSmithKline is cutting back operations in Africa as its new CEO, Emma Walmsley, seeks to make the British drug maker more competitive in emerging markets by ditching her predecessor's expansion plans for the African continent. The move, which a GSK spokesman said on Wednesday would result in an unspecified number of job losses in sub-Saharan Africa, follows disappointing sales for many pharmaceutical companies in the region. 5 years ago, forecasters predicted annual African drug sales would reach $45 billion by 2020. Today, the same experts at research company IQVIA, previously known as IMS Health, suggest it is more likely to be around $25 billion. British energy giant BP on Tuesday announced a drop in second quarter net profit as oil and gas prices retreated from peaks reached a year earlier following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Profit after tax plunged to $1.8 billion in the 3 months to the end of June, compared with $9.3 billion in the second quarter last year. BP said in a statement, mirroring hefty falls across the entire sector. Energy prices soared a year ago following the Ukraine invasion by key producer Russia, sending global inflation to the highest levels in decades while providing record profits for oil and gas companies. Finally, around 24,000 workers at British Airways have accepted a deal that will increase their pay by 13.1%, the union Unite announced on Friday. Employees at the airline will receive the rise over a period of 18 months alongside a one-off payment of £1,000, the union said. The statement, which came after several months of negotiations, is one of the biggest pay moves in recent times. The agreement, which excludes pilots and management, included the potential for pay to increase further if inflation remains high. Well, that's all for the market roundup.